Last week, President Goodluck Jonathan visited the Nigerian Stock Exchange for the first time in his tenure as Nigeria's leader. In this edition of the Economy and Politics Show, we bring to you the key moments of the visit and statements made as it concerns Nigeria's economy, even as we count down to the 2015 elections. First, Alh Bashir Yuguda, Minister of State Finance, in the question and answer session, responded to the issues of Budget 2015 and the recurrent expenditure, which has been of great concern to Nigerians, particularly analysts and public commentators.
Excellency, part of your policies in government definitely is to make sure that the engine room for growth is the private sector. All the policies, all the programs of Mr. President are geared toward that direction. It's the first time a sitting president is actively getting the private sector to be part and parcel of government policies through our economic management team.
He clarified issues on the recurrent expenditure and gave Nigerians clear insight on government's policy and strategies to ensure that the budget is properly managed and creates sustainability.
It's through the recurrent expenditure on our budget for 2015. It's a lot higher than the capital expenditure. But what we have tried to do is to develop a scenario-based approach to our budget system. That at each point in time that we have challenges, we have a certain approach to the particular problem we are having. The problem we are having on the recurrent expenditure has to do with three issues. One, due to the increase in the salary wages in the country. Secondly, the more we increase salary, the more we also have to increase the pension that goes with that. Third, we are also confronted, Your Excellency, with the issue of military pension. That also has to be taken into consideration. So obviously, there will be deficit. And in the process of that, I think the question has to do with what do we do? Well, like you know, federal government of Nigeria has always been meeting its obligation when it comes to meeting up with our bond obligations. And we believe the market can attest to that. And Your Excellency, not only that, what we try to do is also to make sure that we raise the revenue profile of the country so that we are able to not only rely on the oil, but the non-oil revenue. Recently, you gave us an order that we need to raise our non-oil revenue, which we have done through the Federal Inland Revenue Service. I believe there is a question on that, and when it comes to that, we should be able to answer. But Your Excellency, we are fully aware of the challenges of the recurrent expenditure. We have developed a scenario-based approach to this, and we believe that we should be able to tackle it accordingly. Thank you, Excellency.
In the area of monetary policy and focus for the country, one critical issue is capital control. It was an opportunity for the Central Bank Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, to respond on the issue and make a clear statement on capital control and the role of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Capital control is a word that is used to describe a phenomenon where when you bring in capital, say you are a foreign investor and you invest your money in Nigeria, for instance, how easy is it for you at the time or at any point when you do decide to liquidate your investment or sell off your investment, how easy is it for you to do so? That is basically the entire concept about capital control. In 2009, or before 2009, yes, to some extent, we had some capital controls in the sense that you bring in capital, you invest money in Nigeria, we insist that your money has to, your investment has to be here for a number of years before you are allowed to take it out. But in 2009, capital controls were removed completely. So we're saying at this time we have what is called a free entry and free exit market. And that is the reason why you look at the capitalization on the Nigerian Stock Exchange today, 52% of market cap is foreign and just 48% is local. That attests to the kind of flexibility that has been brought into the capital market and how it has reflected in the growth of market capitalization. Yes, as a result of the drop in commodity prices, no doubt oil and gas or crude oil is affected. We've seen drop in revenue earnings, and of course, while at the same time, there's still pressure on the demand for foreign exchange. And a couple of people have asked me, are we considering capital control? And I had said so very clearly and succinctly that capital control is not an option, because we want to continue to make the market a free entry and a free exit market where people are free bringing your money. If you see the investment climate is positive for you, you bring your money today, and tomorrow you decide that you want to cash out because you made profit from your investment, you are allowed to do so.
For President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, he further stated government's resolve on Budget 2015 and also the roadmap for public and private sector partnership, which will be critical for governance, whatever the outcome of the 2015 elections.
After rebasing, and we see that we have the biggest GDP on the continent, a GDP of about $510 billion, above $1 trillion. And we believe that for that kind of a GDP, what we earn as a government from tax is supposed to be much, much higher than we're earning. And even today at the floor, the brokers raise an issue that if our GDP is the biggest in the continent, why is that our capital market is not also the biggest? And give a scenario, America has the biggest GDP in the world, and of course the capital market is also the biggest. South Africa, when they were number one on the continent, their capital market was also number one. So why should in Nigeria, our GDP will be the number one, then our capital market, they are talking about second or third or fourth. So something is wrong somewhere. We believe very clearly that governments and you need to work together to look at these areas. There are leakages. For example, probably some of the companies that are operating in this are not really disclosing probably what they're supposed to disclose. Companies that are ordinarily supposed to be listed in the stock market are not being listed, so their operations are not as transparent as supposed to be. And I think government will... but we are working hard. Most cities in Rivers State, they were trying to develop either monorail or light rail. I would believe that most of our cities, that is the way to go. And the next dispensation will encourage the state governments. And of course, that's why the private sector is key, because we are not expecting to invest in those using money from line budgets of government. We expect to invest from the capital market or from the private sector, because these are investments that will bring revenue. So there's no need for government to struggle. The issue of deficit budgeting up to the tune of 20% was already raised. So we must push some of these areas of government activities that will yield revenue, and make sure that we use money from the private sector to invest, so that government money will be used for more of social services, areas of health management, things that will not bring dividends immediately. It will, but it takes time. The health of the people, like our struggle to eradicate Guinea worm, which we have completely eradicated Guinea worm. We have completely... you cannot push that on to the private sector. We said that we must eradicate polio. We worked very hard within these 4 years. God willing, by June this year, the World Health Organization will declare Nigeria as polio-free. So those are things we must invest in, but at least areas like expanding a pipeline infrastructure, major express roads, the port infrastructure, the airport infrastructure, we should be able to get through.
One key issue that has continued to dominate the space as it concerns the capital market has been demutualization. President of the Council of Nigerian Stock Exchange, Mr Aigboje Aig-Imoukhuede, used the opportunity to respond to the question on demutualization and what Nigerians should expect, particularly capital market players.
It is of critical importance to the Nigerian Stock Exchange and indeed the entire capital market. I think also there is a recognition that whilst it is not a demutualized institution,
the institution actually has stakeholders that have an ownership stake. And the process of demutualization must therefore recognize the interests of those stakeholders, but whilst at the same time ensuring that we create an exchange that supports the economy. As the Minister of State has rightly, commented, it's an ongoing process, but it will require both the government side and the private sector side to work together towards a successful outcome.
Beyond the elections, the budget 2015, the monetary policy direction on capital control, public-private sector partnership, and demutualization constitute part of the key issues that will shape Nigeria's economic direction. It is important that the government of the day will take these issues seriously and work assiduously to move Nigeria forward.